Okay guys, we're going to do some 6th grade science. I'm going to read the book 432 to page 438, and we'll talk about the activities, and I'll help you along with those as well. Okay, so we're talking about cells. What are cells? What is one thing all living things have in common? All living things have cells, the basic unit of an organism. Most organisms are unicellular. They're made of only one cell. Other organisms are multicellular. They're made up of many cells. Humans have about 100 trillion cells. Most cells are so small that they cannot be seen without a microscope. Microscopes, such as the one shown in Figure 1, are used to view details of small objects or to view things that are too small to be seen by the unaided eye. Scientists first used microscopes to look at cells over 300 years ago. Cells come in different shapes and sizes. Nerve cells are long and slender. Red blood cells are small and disc-shaped. Okay, remember when you're doing this, snap a picture of what you're doing so that your teacher can see what you're doing. They got a picture of a flea up there. Okay. Highlight why a microscope is needed to view most cells. Let's see if we can find that. Most cells, I don't have a highlighter, but I'm just going to underline it in yellow. Most are so small that they cannot be seen without a microscope. So I'm just going to check that I did that. Okay. What are cells made of? All cells are made of 4 macromolecules: nucleic acids, lipids, proteins, and carbohydrates. Cells also have many other characteristics. For example, all cells are surrounded by an outer structure called a cell membrane. The cell membrane keeps substances such as macromolecules inside the cell. It also helps protect cells by keeping harmful substances away from entering. About 70% of the inside of a cell is water. Many of the substances inside cells are dissolved in water so they can move easily about the cell. Okay, so we're supposed to underline 6 things that make up cells. I like the way they do this because, like in ELA, we do hashtags for each paragraph. For this, they kind of have like little questions for each paragraph to know that you understand. So we're supposed to underline 6 things that make up a cell. Alright, so the 4 macromolecules, and you can underline those: 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then they're surrounded by an outer structure called a cell membrane. So that's at least 5. 70% of the inside of a cell is water. And those are your 6 things. So there, we're good. Remember, you can pause if you need to catch up. Let's see, can you guys see that? I hope. Yeah, you guys can see it. It's a little harder doing this because I'm trying to make sure you can see everything. Okay. There are 2 main types of cells shown in Figure 2. So that's down here at the bottom. Okay. Prokaryotic cells do not have a nucleus or other membrane-bound organelles. Organelles are structures in cells that carry out specific functions. A nucleus is a membrane-bound organelle that contains cells' genetic material. The genetic material in the few organelles in prokaryotic cells are not surrounded by membranes. Organisms with prokaryotic cells are called prokaryotes. Most prokaryotes are unicellular organisms such as bacteria. Okay, so this was a mini lab. We're not going to do the mini labs, but you could answer that for like some extra credit. Let's go to eukaryotic. All right. Let's see. This one was the prokaryotic. See how it has less stuff, and then this one has a lot more stuff. Eukaryotic cells have a nucleus and other membrane-bound organelles. Most multicellular organisms and some unicellular organisms are eukaryotes. The eukaryote cell shown in Figure 2 contains many structures that are not in a prokaryotic cell. In eukaryotes, membranes surround most of the organelles, including the nucleus. All right, so number 3. On the prokaryotic cell, circle the names of the structures that are also in the eukaryotic cell. So we have to make sure. Okay, so we're going to check. We'll start from the top. Ribosome. Does this one have a ribosome also? Let's see. Yes. So we are going to circle it. DNA. Does this one have DNA? Yes. Cytoplasm. We've got cytoskeleton. Cytoplasm. Flagellum. Let's see if this one has flagellum. Nope. Capsule. Nope. Cell membrane. Yep. And cell wall. Cell membrane. Nope. Okay. That was pretty easy. All right, let's go to the next page. Outside of a cell. As you have just read, the cell membrane surrounds a cell. Much like a fence surrounds a school, the cell membrane helps keep the substances inside a cell separate from the substances outside a cell. Some cells are also surrounded by a more rigid layer called a cell wall. Cell membrane. The cell membrane is made of lipids and proteins. Recall that lipids and proteins are macromolecules that help cells function. Lipids in the cell membrane protect the inside of a cell from the external environment. Proteins in the cell membrane transport substances between the cell's environment and the inside of the cell. Proteins in the cell membrane also communicate with other cells and organisms and sense changes in the cell's environment. Cell wall. In addition to a cell membrane, some cells also have a cell wall, as shown in figure 3. Let's see down here. The cell wall is a strong, rigid layer outside the cell membrane. Cells in plants, fungi, and many types of bacteria have cell walls. Cell walls provide structure and help protect the cell from the outside environment. Most cell walls are made from different types of carbohydrates. Okay. Number 4, draw lines to match each macromolecule on the left with its function in the cell membrane on the right. All right, so the lipids right here. Let's go back to where it talks about the lipids in here. We got lipids and proteins. Lipids protect the inside of a cell. Okay. All right, so we definitely know that works. Okay. Proteins transport. Okay. And then proteins communicate. Right here. Oh, and I just underlined all those important things. And then they've got a picture of a plant cell because it has the cell wall. Helps keep it rigid. Okay. There we go. Organize it. All right. So we're going to talk about characterize the makeup of cells. The outer structure would be the cell wall. We're going to look at this one that we're going to use this one here to do it. The outer structure is going to be the cell wall. And then you'll need to go back to your paragraph and you can find what the purpose is. It's right here. It's in there. So you find the purpose and finish that. The inner material, that's all the inner material. They've got the let's see, I don't know if they want everything. Oh, water, the 70%, that was the clue. The water. So that's all over here on this page. The page before, find the purpose of the cell wall and the purpose of the water. And then list your macromolecules. That is on page, let me see, we wrote that down, page 432. So I'm going to put page 432. We underlined the macromolecules. So you go back to page 432 and find it. Okay? If you need a pause, go ahead so you can finish that. All right, inside of a cell. You might recall that the inside of a cell is mainly water. Many substances used for communication, energy, and growth dissolve in water. This makes it easier for substances to move around inside the cell. Water also gives cells their shape and helps keep the structures inside a cell organized. The organelles inside a cell perform specific functions. They control cell activities, provide energy, transport materials, and store materials. The cytoplasm. The liquid part of the cell inside the cell membrane is called the cytoplasm. It contains water, macromolecules, and other substances. The organelles in eukaryotic cells are located in the cytoplasm. Proteins in the cytoplasm provide structure and help organize organelles and other substances move around. Controlling cell activities. The information that controls all of the cell's activities is stored in its genetic material called DNA. DNA is a type of macromolecule called a nucleic acid. The information in DNA is transferred to another nucleic acid called RNA. RNA gives cells instructions about which proteins need to be made. In prokaryotic cells, DNA is the cytoplasm. In eukaryotic cells, DNA is stored in an organelle called the nucleus. A membrane called the nuclear membrane surrounds the nucleus. Tiny holes in the nuclear membrane let certain substances move between the nucleus and cytoplasm. All right, we're going to go down to this down here, to 5. Characterize the contents of the cytoplasm in cells of eukaryotic organisms. Okay, so we got the cytoplasm here. The liquid part, it contains water, macromolecules, and other substances. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, I think maybe proteins would be my third one I would use. So you've got your water, your macromolecules, and proteins, and that's what's going to go here. Water, macromolecules, and proteins. Okay. Remember, pause if you need to. All right, so we're going to look at a plant cell and an animal cell. All right, they look quite different. Energy for the cell. All living things use energy. Proteins in the cytoplasm process energy in prokaryotes. Eukaryotes have special organelles. The chloroplast and mitochondria, shown in figure 4, process energy. Mitochondria. Most eukaryotes contain hundreds of mitochondria. Mitochondria are organelles that break down food and release energy. This energy is stored in molecules called ATP, adenosine triphosphate. ATP provides a cell with energy to perform many functions, such as making proteins, storing information, and communicating with other cells. Okay, what energy molecule is made in a mitochondrion? Okay, so what is made? Okay, it is this one, the one I had trouble with. So you're going to copy that, put that here. Okay, chloroplasts. Energy can also be processed in organelles called chloroplasts, shown in figure 4. Plants and many other autotrophs have chloroplasts and mitochondria. Chloroplasts capture light energy and convert it to chemical energy in a process called photosynthesis. Chloroplasts contain many structures that capture light energy, like the reactions that occur in mitochondria. ATP molecules are produced during photosynthesis. However, photosynthesis also produces carbohydrates such as glucose that are used to store energy. Alright, go on. Protein production. You just read that cells use protein for many functions. These proteins are made of the surface of ribosomes and are in the cytoplasm of both prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells. In eukaryotic cells, some ribosomes are attached to an organelle called the endoplasmic reticulum, as shown in figure 5. It is made of folded membranes. The proteins can be processed and can move inside the cell through the endoplasmic reticulum. What happens to the molecules that are made in a cell? An organelle called the Golgi apparatus packages proteins into tiny organelles called vesicles. Vesicles transport proteins around a cell. Other molecules are stored in an organelles called vacuoles. A vacuole is usually the largest organelle in a plant cell, as shown in figure 6. Okay, and plant cells, vacuoles, store water and provide support. In contrast to all plant cells, only some animal and bacteria cells contain vacuoles. The vacuoles in animal and bacterial cells are smaller than the ones in plant cells. Alright, so this is basically down here on the bottom is just going to be looking up the different definitions. We've got ribosomes, that is, let's see, where's ribosomes? Let's see. Oh, right here. Okay, ribosomes are going to be, oh, right here. Golgi apparatus, that's over here. Vesicles, those are going to be here. And vacuoles are here. So everything is on this page. So for ribosomes, let's see, what are we going to, we'll do that one together and then you can do the rest. Oh, they're made, proteins are made from ribosomes. Proteins made here. Okay, and then you can look up your Golgi apparatus, your vesicles, and your vacuoles. Your Golgi apparatus is right here. It packages proteins into tiny organelles called vesicles. Vesicles transport proteins around a cell, and the vacuole store water and provide support. So easy breezy. Okay, it's kind of just like doing a hashtag but more structured. All right, so we're going to review the cell membrane, how the parts of the cell enable it to survive. We're talking about a cell. We're going to talk about the cell membrane, the DNA, the mitochondria, the ribosomes, and the vesicles. You already have the vesicles over here and the ribosomes. So those are going to be on page 438. Okay. Okay, and then we're going to go back and look for the cell membrane. The cell membrane's on page 434. And then all you have to do is put what it does, okay? What does each of these things do? Mitochondria, and let's see, I think we're going to be looking this way. Okay. Cytoplasm, is that one of them? No, DNA, mitochondria, and chloroplast, okay. Oh, chloroplast is on page 437. So, okay, page 437. And DNA. DNA is on 436. So all of these you can find. All you got to do is look for them and put what they do. Okay? And then we're going to go to this part over here. I'm just going to read these to you. You're going to have to find them unless I can easily find them and give you the page number. It might help you with that. Okay. Water, proteins, and other substances are found in the blank of a cell. Okay. It's going to be either inside or outside of a cell. So, okay. Number 2, explain why must all organisms be composed of one or more cells. That goes back to your eukaryotic and prokaryotic. Right here, page 433. 3, describe the structures that are found in both prokaryotic and eukaryotic. Same thing is going to be page 433. 4, assess how the classification of prokaryotes and eukaryotes relates to the structure of their cells. Okay, that one you have to think about. Actually, look at figure 2 on page 433. Look at the description of that, and that should help you with that answer. Number 5, explain the role of organelles in the functions of eukaryotic cells. All right, let's see if we can find organelles. Might be over here. Oh, yeah, it's still on page 433, so they're really wanting you to know page 433. You might want to read that more than once, or go back, rewind, and listen to what I read. Assess the role of water in a cell function, and then that is going to be page 432. Recognize, is this the cell below prokaryotic or eukaryotic? Explain how you determine your answer. So they've got pictures right here. Which one is it? Page 433. All right, so we have finished activity 1, or choice 1, for science, week 6. All right.